Welcome, friends. We are doing the live taping of episode 52 of One with the Films. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it, so get excited. Please rise, Court of the Films, Weekly Watch List Division. The court is now in session. The Honourable Judge Naf is presiding. Is the prosecution ready?
Yes, Your Honor. All
okay,
right.
You may begin.
Your Honor, may it please the court that we are back in this fine day in this temple of the law, and often backdrops some very weird TikToks, but estimable jury, you all know me. You all know my practice. I'm here to spit facts and controversy surrounding the critically acclaimed 2021 remake of the film known as The West Side Story. However, today, I am simply K, or Movie Man Opinions, if you so choose. But my client is a complicated man, being charged with treating this art form with the respect it deserves, and the spontaneous impregnations of all those who cross his path. But I mean, come on! How can it be a crime for this petite man to look this good? Here sits a man who has led me to the door of temptation more times than I can count, and he is the demon on my shoulder, sure, but is he guilty? Is it his fault that he was too handsome for the patrons of MIP to handle? Is it his fault that several men, women, theys, and them spontaneously became pregnant at the sight of his chiseled mug? Well, look, probably, but we won't hold it against him. But my client, Nathaniel Bonaparte, is more than able to speak for himself and tell you of his innocence.
See, this is where it gets weird, because I thought I was like the judge, not the accused. You know what I'm saying?
That's enough. That's enough. But our key witness is someone of world-renowned recognition, quiet in the court, a person that will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she is one of the most entertaining people on this planet and as easy on the eyes as an Arizona sunset. She is joining us for round 3 on our humble podcast. Now, members of the jury, I am honored to present the one, the only, EstarGuarsTia, known as Kari. Please take the stand, Kari. Please take the stand. Take all of the room up. Bask in the glow. Go for it.
What up, bro?
My honorable people.
You're here, you're back. Round 3.
Welcome back.
I'm so excited to be back on. Oh my God, guys, you don't understand. I was waiting to get on so we could talk.
We've been playing this one for a while. Like, we had this lined up last year when the strikes
this was
happening.
supposed to be this was supposed to be way earlier.
Yeah, but we made it.
Yeah.
We made it. And hey, look, the only woman to ever get me for round 3. So, like, let's go, baby. Proud of you.
There we are. There we are. Notice how he said woman. Now,
a reminder that you can find One with the Films on all your podcasting platforms of choice soon, with a little bit of a backlog at the moment. But you can find us live and on demand right here as well. So if you're in the live chat, please feel free to join in the conversation. We always love to hear from you. And if you're listening on demand, don't worry, we still love you. And we already got a message from Whoosh in the chat as well. It says, I'm waiting for the... Now, I may not be a big city lawyer.
Now, I may not be a big city lawyer.
There it is.
So there. I may not have all these fancy degrees, but what I have is heart, and I have eyes.
That's it. Eyes and ass. That's it. That's it.
But you are correct. We do still love you. But that being said, Naf, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what we're doing today?
I mean, you know what? Considering that it is my job, I would be more than happy to. I love doing my job. This is
good.
I'm glad we're here. So, the weekly watch list is what we're doing today. And the weekly watch list is what happens with a bunch of friends with unique and wonderful taste in films. They've tried too hard for too long to finally share and discuss their favorite films with one another. So, namely me with Kay. But if you've been around for a while, you already know the shtick. However, for the uninitiated, the idea is that for every episode ever, at least one person is watching that chosen film for the first time. And it's all about having a space for creators to share the art that matters most to them and give them a platform to show us all why. So if you guys like listening to a bunch of nerds geek out and force each other to watch and then discuss their favorite films for the very first time, you can feel free to follow or subscribe. You can send us to your friends, and if you like, you can also activate notifications so you never miss a new episode. And of course, we're on all your favorite socials as well, so links are in the description below. Boom.
Absolutely, and we're entertaining as hell, so definitely take a look over there. But Kari, you're the one that brought the film here today. You're the one that decided that this is going to be what we're doing this week, and you took up some of my nights with this fabulous film. So why don't you tell us what's a brilliant film that not enough people have seen?
The very sexy, the very dark, The Devil's Advocate. Directed by yes, absolutely love it. It's directed by Tyler Hackford. It's from 1997. And actually, fun fact that Naft let me know that it was written by Tony Gilroy, who is also the person that did Andor.
Yeah. Pretty wild, right?
So
no shit. Really cool. That's damn.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought you'd like that.
It had to connect with StarArs somehow. Like, hello, it's Star Wars,
for sure.
How can I not?
Truly,
yeah.
truly,
it was definitely intentional.
Oh, absolutely, 1000%, absolutely. But yeah, that's fabulous. And now, in one sentence, Kari, why did you choose this film specifically?
One sentence. Whew. All right. I love how it speaks to how flawed humanity can be, but also how, in spite of all of that, there could still be something where you can make the right choice at the end of anything.
Free will, right? Free will.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Absolutely. Beautiful. Well, let's get started,
and
shall
it's sexy.
we?
I mean,
I mean, come on.
I would love to. I would do that. I would have been on my knees so fast with the devil.
Hey, yo.
I'm just saying.
Can we talk about for a minute as well the fact
know.
that this is the second film that you've brought on the podcast and the second film that has Satan in it? Just
like
I got something you want to tell us? I think you need a little bit of a come
there
on,
is a pattern.
Kari.
Listen, I mean, my soul. I don't know where my soul's gonna end up, so might as well just go with the theme.
Yeah.
might as well go with the sexy one, right?
Yeah. Okay, for you,
listen.
What kind of knowledge did you have about this film before going in? Obviously, you didn't know Tony Gilroy was writing.
I did not know that my boy wrote it, but it was one of those things where I knew Keanu Reeves was in it, and ultimately I knew kind of that general pitch of, I think I knew it had something to do with law, and then I knew that Al Pacino played Satan, and I think that was about it. That was that was all I kind of knew, and yeah, there was a lot of twists and turns that this movie took that I had no clue where it was going.
Yeah,
and I have a lot of thoughts about this movie in a really good way. So I'm very excited to talk about those. But what about you, Neff? What did you know?
Okay, so this is gonna sound so weird, and I actually can't explain why at all. I have no idea. But when Kari said we're doing The Devil's Advocate, I didn't know what the film was. But for whatever reason, in my head, I thought we were doing like a Jackie Chan film. Like, I don't know why. I can't explain it. I don't know what the connection was. But in my head, this was gonna be like a Jackie Chan film, and it was gonna have like karate and I have no idea. I don't know why, but for months, I just thought that was gonna be in it.
Huh?
Yeah. I don't know. So that's the level of knowledge that I had going into this. It was when we were talking in chat, and Kari, you'd mentioned that you were coming on with The Devil's Advocate, and then JJ was like, "Oh, I love that film. Al Pacino is so sexy as Satan," and I was like, Jackie Chan?
Oh,
that sounds weird. Anyway, I didn't really give it another thought.
You have karate and hell. Hey, that's actually.
I watched. There was a film of his that I watched a while ago called The City of God or Armor of God, and it was mental. So yeah, so that's what I thought. But what about you, Kari? you obviously have a pretty special connection to this film. Like, have you seen it a lot of times?
Yes, yeah, I have seen it. Like, I just rewatched it again, recently, so before I did the podcast. But I think growing up, just because of the type of movie, it was like a type of movie that you could just go back to because of the themes in it. It's so interesting, what each of the characters goes through, what all the commentary and the discourse within the movie. So it's always been such an interesting movie to me. Again, aside from me being a simp for the bad boy and stuff.
What was your experience coming to it for like the first time? Like, how did you find out about this film?
Oh my gosh! Listen, I'm 42 years old. When did I watch this movie? The first time, I don't remember, but I do remember. One thing I do remember when I first saw it, I was probably in my teens, like 17, 18 or something.
This is like an awakening for you.
Yeah, it was. It really was. No, but when it first came out, I think the thing that resonated with me the most was how the devil can tempt you in so many different ways.
Yeah,
it's insane. It could be like the smallest thing, and then just the fact that he tempted a whole super religious person because of his charm and just the way he was able to get to her, even though she was such a religious person, But he's such a charming little devil. I mean, I don't know what else to call him.
Yeah. He is.
But yeah, that was really cool. I was like, wow, this is insane.
You're like, I need a man like this. That's why you moved to New York, isn't it?
Of course. I mean,
I
see him on every corner, I see him on every corner, like, fucking charmer.
How's that going?
I get you. No, but it's awesome. It was a great pick. I had a great time watching it this week. And yeah, so I'm pumped to get into it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and Nav, going off of that, obviously you have our wonderful fun facts. So do you want to kick us off with some of them?
Yeah, they are wonderful.
And then Kari and I can determine if they are in fact fun.
We'll see.
I think this one's pretty good. I think this is one of my best.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay. I'm excited.
So, adapted from Andrew Neiderman's 1990 novel of the same name by Tony Gilroy and Jonathan Lemkin, this film was directed by Academy Award winner Taylor Hackford. Taylor had actually achieved that feat in 1979, winning Best Live Action Short with his film Teenage Father. He was later nominated for the Ray Charles biopic, Ray, for Best Director and Best Picture. On a budget of $57 million, this film was pretty successful. It brought in over $153 million at the box office, and it has a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, along with a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. On Letterboxd, it's also featured on a modest 1,700 fans' 4 favorites. That tells you like how many people have it in their top 4. So 1,700 people really love this movie. The film stars Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino, and Charlize Theron. The film apparently went too far for German TV audiences, cutting down some intimate scenes, reducing the violence, and even entirely cutting out a key moment at the end of the film featuring a pew-pew machine in someone's brain. That's not in the German TV cut of this film. There were also edits made to the film to remove the Twin Towers for an American release after September 11, so when it went to TV then. And Keanu, being the angel that he is, he actually cut his salary down again so that the producers could get Pacino for his price. He had his price. He was like, this is how much it is. They couldn't afford it. Keanu was like, sick. I'll give you mine. So he's just, a gem. But when Pacino found out that he did that, he took the additional sum and he donated it to charity, which, I'm a little mixed on the feelings there because, I mean, Keanu probably didn't need it anyway, but it's pretty funny that he's like, oh, you put some of your pay for me? Sick. I'm going to give it to someone else. We love it.
Truly.
Badass. Where are we?
I got
vanity. But the film was originally... Yeah, we'll get this. The film was originally in the hands of Joel Schumacher, of world-renowned Batman and Robin fame, and it was set to star Brad Pitt, with Kevin Spacey being considered for the role of John Milton. So can you just imagine that for a second? Also,
oh my God,
in the running for director was Sam Raimi for a little while. They really wanted him. The pseudonym for our antagonist, John Milton, actually comes from a playwright in the 17th century who wrote the poems Paradise Lost. That had been on Pacino's reading list for years, and after being cast as John Milton, he finally dove in. It was like his opportunity to get into it. And do you guys remember the boxing match in the film? Yeah, that was a real boxing match. So it was not staged, but an actual legitimate world championship boxing match. The bout went down on the 4th of October, 1996 at MSG in New York, with Roy Jones Jr., the IBF super middleweight champion, against the top contender Bryant Brannan. Jones knocked out Brannan in the second round, as we saw, and he actually ended up appearing in another film with Keanu, which is The Matrix Reloaded in 2003.
Oh, shoot. That is so cool.
Y'all have anything you want to add?
Nah, that just sounds very cool. I will declare this one fun.
Thank you.
Yes,
I think that is well deserved.
Amazing. Well, yeah, that's me. So, yeah.
I will say, before we get too far off of this stuff, Kevin Spacey almost getting cast as Satan has the same energy as O.J. Simpson almost being cast as the Terminator, and it's like it has similar energies.
Oh my god!
Where it's
Chat,
like
that.
It's one of those where it's like at the time, well, I mean, more Satan himself, but nonetheless, it's definitely
that was a shame.
Exactly. It was a very interesting situation, but nonetheless,
before we do go on to the next part, just like Ken in chat was saying, the film also reminds me of Dante's Inferno storyline. And keep in mind, this movie came out before the Matrix series. So, yeah. But, Kay, do you want to take us into a spoiler alert?
This movie did come out before the Matrix. That is interesting to keep in mind, especially with Keanu. But yes, absolutely. Give me 1 second. All right. So before we go any further, all these conversations are definitely not spoiler free. We're not necessarily doing a play-by-play, but we are talking about the film with the expectation that you've already seen it. It's always cool to go and watch the film and check back later if you want. Just make sure that you check back later. And except please, like, don't be like my mother. But even if you haven't seen the film, chances are we'll convince you to finally make that leap. And if you want to go, I'm sorry, I got thrown off here by making a joke about my mom. Now here we go. If you want to know what the film to watch in advance, so you have plenty of time to watch it throughout the week, we do on our Instagram and socials, we do announce it beforehand, but we also announce it at the end of each podcast episode for the following week, so you can tune in. That there's an extra reason why you want to stay to the end. Come on, just stay with us, warm up by the fire, and just we're gonna have a good time. So without further ado, let's get the fuck to it.
Beautiful. So like we all brought in a couple of things that are really important to us that we want to talk about with the film, right? So like we'll dive right in. I know early on, Kari, you'd mentioned specifically like Keanu and Pacino's, or well, what's his name, Kevin and John's relationship in the film was something that was really interesting to you. So I want to start us on the topic of like relationships and kind of like inter character play. So tell me a little bit about what about their relationship stands out to you as really like special or interesting.
Like I said, I think John really, I mean, he's a devil, so of course he knows each person's vulnerability, right? Everybody has a weakness. Everybody has that weakness that he absolutely, as the devil, kind of knows how to exploit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just the way that he just knew how to like talk to him, not be on top of him too hard, like, you know, too much, to kind of smothering him, but kind of like made it seem like Kevin was the one making all the decisions.
Yeah.
Even though it was, you know, Milton, the one that was like kind of leading him.
Yeah.
But without, you know, Kevin even noticing that that's what he was doing.
100%. I saw something really interesting in the like trivia section too, where I saw that they play with color in this film, where at the start of the film, Kevin has like a light gray suit on, and as the film progresses, it gets progressively darker until like in the final scene, it's a black suit. And it's kind of like he's essentially right there, which is always like so cool as well. But I love that it leads up to those conversations where Kevin comes to John and goes, "You did this, you made all this happen." And John goes, "Hold on, I told you to quit. I told you to go be with your wife. Like I said it'd be okay. This was you." I love how it plays on that idea, like that kind of free will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, exactly.
The gaslighting and stuff with Milton. I mean, of course he's gonna gaslight everybody.
I mean, you know, gaslight girl, boss queen. Like, let's go. What about you, Kay? Any like thoughts on either that relationship or any of the others?
Well, I think that it's really interesting how the film goes about all of the relationships. Where it's very interesting is when I was approaching this movie, I didn't realize that, you know, okay, obviously, I don't know how this film was marketed, but obviously, so we only go in with what we know. But I do think it's very interesting because at first I thought,
it was marketed as a Jackie Chan film.
Exactly, duh. And so, which was really misleading. They got away with a lot of shit during this time period. It was quite literally just straight up lying. Shout out to Megalopolis is at advertising company. And so now but nonetheless, the thing is that what I thought was so interesting was I didn't realize that, you know, the whole Al Pacino being Satan was kind of a secret in the film. Like a secret-ish, like secret adjacent, like the whole thing feels like it's supposed to be this big reveal. And feeling like I knew that beforehand, I was obviously watching it through that lens, which I think it kind of gave you that, oh, I know the twist, but I can kind of see how detailed they layered this in.
Gotcha.
And I agree. And I think that kind of whereas like a little bit of the Tony Gilroy isms kind of came into it a little bit, but with some of the way as you guys were talking about, I like that the relationship between the two isn't because you kind of see it as reversed with like Eddie, right? Eddie is very much this character that has an abusive relationship with Milton, where it's sort of almost like Milton uses that as a guilt trip and like has something on this guy. And it's sort of like it kind of, and he realizes how to talk to Eddie is very different than how he needs to talk to Kevin.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a really interesting thing. So I thought that was really brilliant. But yeah, like that. So I think that it was very fascinating.
It is, right? And I think I had gone into this also hearing, like, you know, I said that message from JJ that was like, you know, he's playing Satan. And in my head, I'd kind of still gaslit myself into like, no, this is like a normal movie. You know, like it's just like he's Satan. You know, it's not like Tim Curry level Satan. It's like, you know,
it's like he's saying like
he's kind of a
it's a bad guy.
Like this is an asshole.
Bad dude.
And so like when the film kind of drops the pin, I think the first time it happens is when Charlize Theron's character, what's her name? Is it Mia or Mary? Mary Elizabeth or Mary Ann? So when she goes to when she goes shopping with the other wives, and there's that bit where they're all kind of getting changed, getting dressed, and as the dress comes up,
and they just face up.
I was like, I was in the same boat as her. Actually, I was a little bit like, whoa,
same.
Whoa,
that was disturbing as hell.
Whoa,
I literally had a visceral reaction to that scene of just kind of going, no, I didn't care for that shit at all.
Why did you do it?
And I'm like, I'm already ace, and they're like, and it's and then she had to go and make it worse.
Oh
but
that was shocking though, right? It was shocking because like you said, like you guys said,
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just want to say like because what you guys said, like when I don't know how I don't remember how this movie was marketed. It just again when you see two guys in suits and it's called The Devil's Advocate, it's just probably. You know, big lawyer is gonna get the little lawyer to do this fucked up shit.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
Like that, right?
Yeah,
it plays on that.
When it does, and then you see that is this is actually like literally devil.
They're taking a more like fantasy element to it, and as you're saying, like this film gets the reactions from you that you want, or that like as a creator you would want from that. And I think that that's what it does incredibly brilliantly. And
Ken had said in chat that if memory serves him right, marketing for this didn't take off until closer to the Oscars. But like, obviously not much on exactly how it was marketed. But I mean,
sure,
like we said, it obviously did really well at the box office. So word of mouth must have been pretty good. I can imagine telling a friend like, "Hey, go watch this movie about a couple of lawyers." It's like imagine if the Better Call Saul finale ended like this, Kate. Just imagine.
Oh man, listen, I have thought about it, and it is, but it is an interesting thing. And going with that, like one of probably the most interesting parts of the films that I was like, I was really excited to talk with you guys about it because like definitely it's a little bit subject of the times. but it is also a very interesting thing, even more so of being like, there is a lot to this character that I think goes past the stereotypes of the times. But I really do want to talk about Charlize Theron's character, and I really want to talk about that arc. And so, yeah, so I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on her arc before at least I go into my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, well, Kari, do you want to kick us off?
I think I love that she was such, like, you see her at the beginning, she's very open, she's very fun. You know, I think she was very kind of idealistic about life, about her husband being such a great person. You know, she's from the South, so she's probably like kind of sheltered, you know, happy-go-lucky. You know, she hasn't really seen the crazy stuff outside in the world. Because down South, you know, here in the States, life is very, you know, especially if you come from a small town, very sheltered,
it's very different,
very, right? Very, very different. So her getting thrown into this lion's den, basically coming up here to New York with, you know, all these women being so different from her, right? And you see her going through that stage of, oh my God, like I'm basically, you know, helpless here, kind of. She's left, she feels alone. She's like basically down in the gutter. Yeah. And to finally end up being at the end that force of support. Like now she's come out stronger towards the end with her husband. I think it was a great type of message about how, you know, sometimes we are so like blind to so much going on around us, to other things that go around us, and it's a big like kind of bucket of cold water once you get thrown into the real world. Absolutely. You know, but she was able to adapt, and that speaks to her resilience, that she went through so much. She went through crazy stuff. I mean, I feel so bad for her, not just mentally, but physically, and she was able to come out of that, you know?
I wanted to talk a little bit specifically to that too, because this film does a really interesting thing in the ending. And it would be why I was wondering, when I like found the film to watch it, I got what was called like the unrated version. So it was meant to have like a little extended bits in the scenes, and I was like, okay, cool, like, well, let's see. But I don't know if it's actually a different cut from anything else. But what I found really interesting was where they went to with the ending for this film. Like, we were talking about the pew pew and the brain moment before, and then it kind of, you know, comes back around, which I didn't expect at all. And like in there, I like where, since he has all the kind of memory of that, he's able to go up to her and, you know, go and kiss, and they have this nice moment. He's like, nah, let me go, whatever. And she's kind of there with him. She's like, oh, yeah, it's a little weird that you're doing this, but like, okay, like, I'm here with you. Like, are they the moments you're referring to where you're like, she has that resilience and she can just kind of go like with him? Yeah. Because like, one of the things I found really crazy was as her arc starts to like wind up, and she's dealing with like this, essentially like what they're assuming is like schizophrenia. The way that culminates in like the main storyline is horrifying. Yeah. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is so brutal and visceral to watch too, and seeing him kind of like, you know, hang over the body and being like help her, like, is oh my gosh, you know, like, it was intense.
No, I didn't expect it to go there.
Yeah,
I actually really love that scene where she the personal assistant comes over with the mirror, and he's like, look how beautiful you are. In the background, she sees herself,
and then she says, oh yeah, like they were just really trying to get her to go crazy.
And she ends up like kind of gaslit by Kevin in a way, you know? Like sort of not intentionally, but you know, he doesn't really know what's going on. But Kay, like, what are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely. It's that aspect that I thought was the most interesting, which is, you know, I love when characters in a movie behave relatively realistically.
Oh yeah,
and it's nice to have this person go, yeah, this is fucking weird. I want to get the fuck out. But also, you can also kind of vibe with Kevin's thing of being like, so you're telling me Yeah, like what else would you say? Like you're like,
he was in court with me.
You.
What do you mean somebody did this to you? Like
I believe you, but I can't go with that. And it's like I found that to be a very interesting thing with it, which I kind of liked, and I liked that they stuck to the rules of their world. And it's like, yeah, this would fuck you up.
Yeah.
And it was just insane in a beautiful way.
Like, yeah, Kari, you'd mentioned it earlier as like she gets kind of caught up in just like the whirlwind or the tornado of like where Kevin's life goes, you know? And it's like she was presented to us early on as like, yeah, this really strong character, and by the end, obviously, it just chips away at her soul, at her character until she's broken. And I saw an interview with Charlize about that big scene in the church that she has at the end when he goes to find her.
Yeah.
And she was saying that, you know, it was in a real church. And like after filming, the priest came up to her and was like, I think it's so beautiful that after this character has gone through like all of this kind of stuff, that this is where she comes to find her solace, to find her peace. And she was like, oh, that's nice. I was just naked in the house of God. She was saying also that like
that's beautiful.
She was quite young with this film. I think she was 22 and Keanu was heading into his like 30s, and they are playing similar age characters in the film. But she was saying too that like it's probably quite telling that most like female actresses have those interviews where they talk about, I had to call my mom or my dad and tell them that I was going to be like fully naked on screen. And she was talking about that conversation with her mom as well, and being like, you know, like all actresses have to consider this if you want to do it at some point. And I was like, ew, kind of, you know, like,
yeah,
like, ew.
No, absolutely. That's you. Listen, if you want to do stuff like that or feel comfortable, like that's a different story, but it's like, you shouldn't be expected to have that.
I think especially when you hear some of like the horror stories off of like Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones, the show, is like the reason that we have intimacy coordinators now, and you have it for anything as little as like, you know, kissing and hugging scenes to like very, very graphic intimate scenes, and it's kind of where it should be, you know, because I think also in that sense, if like, you know, you're young and you're new into the industry and you think this is what you have to do to break out, it's like, you know, and obviously people get caught up in that. You don't know
what you don't know.
Other avenues too. I know, like, you know, modeling and like kind of whatever else ends up in people being in places they didn't intend on being, you know, because it's just people get manipulated, and not to say that it only happens to women as well. Like it happens to people of all genders, but obviously it's quite prominent there, and that's where you get all the other like crazy stuff that happens with executives and like ill, you know, just ill,
and no, but going further with it.
You go ahead.
Or I guess go now. Your thoughts.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I guess I was more just, I really did want to also kind of dive into a little bit of the themes, right? We got the themes of temptation, free will, ends justify the means, things like that. I want to know, this film brings up so many of them.
Yeah.
And in such unique ways. And I'm curious to know how you guys like interpreted that, because I know temptation was a very interesting one to me, that how it was portrayed. But yeah, like I'm curious with both of you guys, what you think, which one stood out to you.
So I want
Tell me.
I want to put a thought out there for the two of you, and I'd love to get your thoughts on my thought. So this went in my Letterboxd review, and I mean this with all the love in my heart. Okay, the way that temptation to the dark side is portrayed in this film is like everything that George Lucas wanted the prequels to be for Sidious and Anakin, and at the same time everything that they wanted the Acolyte to be for the Stranger and for Osha. Like, I watched this and I was like, oh my god, you perfected the I know your soul, I know what you want, I'm not going to push you, you have free will, but I'm just going to let you know what I have over here and you can come and grab it if you like. But I wonder, what do you guys think of that?
Well, Kari, do you have any thoughts on that?
Okay, so damn, that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. It was, oh man, you know what, something I might agree. I think I agree with you, because this movie just does it so eloquently, so subtle, so like it's not all in your face, you know. We already know what he is, but I think Milton let Kevin do everything on his own, choose that path by himself by putting those crumbs in front of him and make sure that he was like, listen, I didn't make you do anything. I just told you this is what there is.
Yeah.
And you see if you want it or not.
I love the line where he goes, maybe it's time for you to lose. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. And like, there are those moments that make you kind of question his morality a bit, you know, like it's really interesting. I think of those kind of films and in that universe, like one of the films that did it a little bit better with like sort of less time was in the moment on Ahch-To in The Last Jedi, where Luke says
Son
to
of
Rey,
a bitch.
The darkness was there. You didn't even question it. Like you went straight in. And I feel like that's so similar to Kevin's like arc here. Like the darkness is there. You go straight to it. You don't get to blame anybody else.
I'll give you it. I'll give you it. It is a real one. But as you're saying, Naf, like to the temptation point, and especially as you're saying to it related to Star Wars, like I do think that that's the case. And you know, it's the one thing that I think with the idea of the quote unquote dark side and stuff like that. And I think this film shows it in a very particular light, because it is this guy that's like, I love his whole thing of almost again telling Kevin, yeah, well, maybe that's something we need to work on with you, is like, you know, not the showy bit, it's being the unassuming. And I think that that's also kind of like to your point about Star Wars, it's kind of like the Chancellor, right? Like, or the idea of like the Emperor, even how he shows up in Return of the Jedi is like, you know, a man walking with a cane. You know, this is an old man. This whole thing, and it's like, what could I do to you? I'm an old man. I can't be a Sith Lord. Why would I be a Sith Lord?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, do it. No, motherfucker, I'm one of the best fighters in the galaxy.
He's like, he's just a really old man. He's quiet, doesn't really do much. And then he's like, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Vegas the Wise? It's like, have you seen those memes where it's like me to my friends and it's like, oh, I'm not into like politics, blah, blah, and it's like me after one drink. Have you ever heard the tragedy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, but that's sort of my feelings on it.
I know as well.
I guess
one of the big things that the film kind of deals with is it kind of is asking the question, like, do the ends justify the means? You know, so that's something that connects with you quite a bit in stories. I wondered if you have more thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, you and I talk about like a lot of different stories, and also like I do think about the defense attorney of it all. Like that for listeners who may not know or may not remember, my mom was a prosecutor for a long time, so we had very particular opinions on defense attorneys, because more often than not, and I will say, I think that there are beautiful defense attorneys. I do think, again, in America, everybody's entitled to defense until proven guilty. The one thing about it though is I always felt that defense attorneys always got all the media. And it was like always the thing. You have Better Call Saul, you have these other shows, you have these movies, these things of, oh, how everybody thought this man was guilty, but this one person knew he was innocent. And it's like, okay, you always kind of lift these guys up to be the heroes, when in a lot of times in reality, they're Kevin.
Yeah.
When it's this guy who knows that this guy probably did it. And has to give him the defense, but has that sense of it. And I liked with this movie them kind of pulling the curtain back on that. And especially, I was doing some research on my own. A lot of this happened around the OJ trial. And obviously, people have their own opinions on that and things there. But that was famous on both sides of the coin of kind of being like prosecuted. Again, the spectacle of it all, and people and bringing up the question, at what point are you a little bit more of the charlatan or this and that, and just kind of going with it? And I think that this film really brings that into perspective of going, he wants his record. He wants his record.
Fun fact as well, when they pick him up and bring him to New York, he's on 64 wins. And while he's in New York, he wins 2 more trials. So he ends his career in that timeline on 66 wins for, you know, cheeky, right? Cheeky.
Nice.
No, like,
well done.
I get what you mean, 2K, and I love that from the opening shot. Essentially, you kind of the way he looks at the like teacher who definitely
I was about to bring that up.
Like he knew, and then he leaves, and you can tell when he's walking away. He's like, oh. But there's a line later that Charlize's character says where it's like, this is our like penance because we protected those people and we knew we knew they were guilty and we still protected them. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
dude.
And that I think is also the crime of a lot of us who stand by, and it's like, you don't say shit. It's easier to go along than it is. And it's harder. And I think this film also talks about, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to stand up in these things. They're like, it's not the thing of like, that's what I loved about the movie. She said about the whole Harvey Weinstein breaking open that case, where it's like, you showed, it's like, this man can ruin your fucking career. This man can ensure that you never even get a thing in there. Like, this person has so much power that, like, there are so many people that are like, you know how hard I worked to get here?
Yeah.
I'm going to be blacklisted the minute I have this whole thing there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I thought this movie did a very good job of, was bringing those questions into perspective.
100%.
Can I just bring up, like, I liked also, like, you know, it could also be seen, of course, as a metaphorically or symbolic. That line that you said that Charlize said that, you know, this is penance because of what we did, right? So it could just be, to me, it could be symbolism of like guilt. Her seeing these people, like the demons that she sees, the way that she starts going crazy, you know, it's kind of like metaphor to like that guilt eating you up, and that guilt just making you see everything so ugly around you.
Like
because
John
you
Milton
yourself
says it to
feel
her, right? Like he says to her at that moment with the guilt, he goes like, you know, guilt, it's like carrying around bricks. You just got to like drop them. But I think you're right too, because as the film goes on, like it very well could be that, like, up to a certain point, I feel like it could go either way. And if it ended as like she was schizophrenic, or for whatever reason was seeing things as a result of like her guilt manifest, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get you, sick. And then it went this way, and it also works. It's very clever in that sense. Like, it's insane. I felt a little bad because by the time we got to the end of the film, I kind of wanted him to go bad. Like, I was like, you know what? Bang your sister. She a baddie. You good. Nobody clip that.
I'll allow it.
Out of context, okay? Out of context.
We'll allow it.
No, but like, and it puts us into like, all three of us like felt the weight, the magnificence of Pacino's performance here. Like, all three of us, this is something we wanted to talk about. So like, let's dive deep into him, right? Kari, you can talk.
I would love to.
The scene. Wow.
Hey, you brought it up, bud.
Okay.
I'm just responding to the stimuli in front of me.
Fair game.
I didn't make you do nothing.
I love the scene where they're on the train, and that guy's like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And Pacino starts talking Spanish. And what he says is like,
so good.
And then we get the subtitles, right? Because we need to understand. Because earlier in the film, he's walking past, like his sister essentially, and she's talking in Italian to somewhere else. Yeah. And we don't get the subtitles because we don't need to know what she's talking about. It doesn't matter, you know. But when it matters, we get the subtitles and we see. And then afterwards, I said you'd kick his ass, and I was like, "You sly dog!"
So what is
me monologuing?
Yeah, for sure. It puts the rest of the movie into perspective, right? Where you're like, oh my God, what other things has he been saying this entire time? But Kari, I want to know with you, because obviously seeing this film, Pacino is such a main part of it, such an incredible like feeling in it. What was your experience in the first time you saw this?
Oh my gosh. I think just the way Pacino stood out to me very, like, out of the whole movie. He's a brilliant actor, of course. We already know it. He's so dynamic with any role that he gets. But he just brought that enigmatism. You felt yourself attracted to his character.
Yeah, and
because
you don't know
he
why.
was so charming.
Like, as he says too, it's like these girls leave and they're like, what just happened? Was it a freight train, or was it that old man that did that to me? I was like, okay.
No, absolutely, it is. And the thing is, it just goes to show you, you know, that of course I find him very attractive, but it's also how you carry yourself. You can enamor anybody just by the way that you are with around this person, how you speak, your mannerisms, everything. And I think he brought all of that into this character the same way, and really showed us what it is for the devil to be such a temptation for everybody else, how he's able to charm and tempt everybody. And Al Pacino just did that for me. He was brilliant.
He actually plays it, like we said, with I think you've got the perfect word for it. Like, it's enigmatic, right? Like, you can't read him. You have no idea what he's doing. He kind of
absolutely.
You have that really interesting scene at the start where he's going pressure. Like, that's where you show your talent. Like, are you actually that good, or what? And he puts him out on the balcony. It's like, whoa, okay, it's wild.
Yep.
It's so cool. It's so cool. He's so damn good. He's so damn good in the role, and particularly
so damn good.
All of his monologue in that last sequence was like,
that last sequence was so good. Oh my God.
What did he say? He's an absentee landlord. I heard those lines. I was like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my man was cooking.
And it makes you think about that whole thing a little bit differently, right? Where he's like, I'm in the mix.
Yeah.
I'm in that whole, like, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's almost like him talking about, well, like, and he has that whole thing that makes you think about it, because it's at least the way Al Pacino played him and how he's written. It is that question of, it's like, I love how messy y'all are. Mm-hmm. Like, I love it. And it's like, it's him up there. He's like, he's the one that's doing this whole thing over there, but I love it. And it's like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. That's actually like a very interesting concept. And it's like, but he still is bad. Like, in a lot of ways. Yeah. But it's just so unique.
Bad guy.
And he takes, it's like, oh, God gave everybody free will. Well, I'm going to take that free will and take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mental. And sorry, just a side shout out too. Like, Pat was in chat on TikTok saying, 3 great ones in one show. How can the universe handle this much awesome? So thank you, Pat.
Power
Morphicon in Pasadena. So it's a Power Rangers conference, which is really interesting.
All right.
Nice. Cool. Love it.
Yeah,
fun stuff.
Thanks for joining us, dude. But yeah, like, I mean, we could go on and on for hours about Pacino in particular. Like, I love how even in kind of for almost half the film, or like a third of the film, like, you don't even see him. You know, like, you don't see him at the start. Then at some point, you just kind of get that little glance at him from a distance. You're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But like, Pacino brings it, man. Like, he's so good. He's so good. I feel like these kinds
he just brings his A game.
He does. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like these kinds of roles are brilliant for actors too. Because again, we were talking about like Tim Curry in as Darkness. When you give someone the ability to just be wholly like evil, that room to play and bring that to life, it's almost like it is a bit of like all of your darkest desires that you kind of suppress.
Oh yeah,
go, I'm a morally okay human, but it's like I get to play in that space. It's so interesting to see like what he did. He brings it to life in a fantastic way. And yeah,
they're so sensual in their own way, right? The way because the devil is supposed to be such a sensual character, like, you know, persona, and they all bring it in their own way. And the way Tim Curry did it, of course, very, very dark, very evil, but still sensual. You know, you could still feel like, and then the way Al Pacino brings it in, you know, being so charismatic and just the smooth talking, that's his way of being sensual. So of course you're also, you know, kind of, you know, gravitate towards him.
Do you think about the scene in the dinner party where he goes up to Charlize Theron's character and he's like talking to her about her hair, and like literally the next scene it's changed. Like it's you would think that in real life somebody that's like an older guy comes and sits down with you and talks with you like that, you'd probably be like, brother, I have mace in my purse. I have mace.
Yeah,
okay, boomer.
You gotta
like,
just take
okay,
a step
boomer.
back. Yeah, like, come on, sweetie. Like, don't. But she takes it.
Yeah,
it's like,
come on.
Yeah. But the energy that Keanu brings in that last scene too, of that, you know, like, you did this, you did this, what did you do to my wife? There's that line where it goes, on a scale from 0 to like the most depraved acts a human has ever conceived in the history of blah, blah, about a 7. It's like, excuse me? Dude. Oh my God. But it's like,
he was so unapologetic about it. Like, of course, he doesn't care, and he doesn't care for your feelings.
Not at all.
You know,
gives no fucks.
especially when he's like, well, you got yourself into a situation. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
I told you, I gave you the out. I said we'd be okay. Like it's fine, you know? There's also the scene, the editing is really cool. It's very like Godfather-esque where he's talking about the guy who was gonna, you know, dub them in. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah.
They go to the funeral and stuff for him. But he's talking about it while
Eddie.
he's kind of like Eddie. Yeah. While he's sending Eddie, right? And this was another thing with color as well, that like the 4 people that are chasing Eddie are the same color as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So like it ties into that, you know? And it's so interesting the way they edited those 2 parts together to bring that scene alive. Again, very Godfather-esque. Like, did you do it? Like, don't ask me about my work, you know? Like, they're just in the church and they have everything kind of going down the way he wanted it to. Like, very cool. And obviously, like, it's him. So it's awesome. But the film was featured on a podcast. I saw this on IMDb as well. The film was featured on a podcast called How Did This Get Made? It's a comedy podcast about films. And I think that's really interesting because how did this get made? And Kay, I know this was something that was on your mind.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of those things where, specifically, it's not the concept of how did this get made. It's very interesting to me because me and my buddy were talking about this movie with it, and with the general media landscape as it is now, it was very interesting that for a while you could have a lot of these films that were made based on a generally interesting premise and actors that were kind of hot in the moment. And they made a shit ton of these. And it was kind of that mid-range.
You can take hot how you take it, you know, like
in whatever way you want to do it. But in all seriousness, it's very interesting to me that like films like this are kind of these mid-range films where it's like the budget's not small, but it's not high.
Yep.
And it's not it's kind of where you get a lot of your Judd Apatow comedies, a lot of that kind of stuff. And it's like what's kind of sad about the way that the media landscape has kind of gone, and I guess you can kind of look at it as sad, you can kind of look at it as like it's evolved. A film like this would probably end up on Netflix and probably just tossed in the general bin of it all, like not in a bad way, but it's kind of would have almost like the straight to DVD kind of treatment today.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's films like these are kind of lost. You either have to do it on a micro budget or have to somehow convince a studio to give you a lot of money for it, which no one's going to give you a ton of money for a film like this.
Yeah.
And like I was very impressed because I just saw a film called Fly Me to the Moon. Channing Tatum, Scarlett Johansson, Apple TV did that. Shout out to the art team on that. We have a lot of friends in that art team. But that film was done with a pretty decent sized budget, and it was like, again, it's kind of this little bit of a kind of romantic comedy, and it was very nice to sort of see, and that was done by Apple TV, and you know, I think that they're doing some pretty good stuff over there with regards to how they're actually going about creating their media. And I think that I would really like to see films like this come back. I think that it's a very interesting style of film, and it opens up ideas and opens up things to that. But I don't know if you guys had any thoughts about that, but it was something that was on my mind that I'm like, it kind of goes to the Anthony Mackie kind of quotes about like with Marvel being like, this wouldn't get made today.
Yeah.
And it's like, this wouldn't. It doesn't have enough pull to get made today.
And I think that it ties into obviously the Star Wars of it all. Obviously the big news there is like we haven't heard anything from Star Wars directly, but like, you know, Acolyte's cancellation.
Yeah.
It goes to show that, and particularly when you look at the D23 announcements this year too, that are a bit like, brother, not everything has to be a sequel or existing IP. Like it is unfortunate that they're so caught up in money that you know.
Yep.
And it's funny, absolutely. I saw today or yesterday too, I saw that, you know, as soon as AI came in, the studios were so quick to be like, we can chop out writers and just use AI. It's going to be great. And then now a bunch of the big studios have actually combined to sue AI startups for training their AI models on like copyrighted properties. It's like, excuse me, like now it's a problem for me. But you're right, Kay. Like, unfortunately, it's a thing we keep coming back to as well. Like, I love the conversation of the $12 million movie. You know, one of my favorite films of all time that we watched on the podcast.
Yeah.
Hell or High Water. It's cheap, arguably. You know, it's like you can make so many movies like this. And the writer-director of American Fiction also said it when he accepted his Oscar as well, where he's like, studios are so quick to put $250 million into one movie, but not 10 million into 25 movies. It's like
precisely.
Yes.
Me being at the Melbourne Film Festival this year, one of the things that I'm seeing is I'm watching films and it's so beautiful to see. Like I sent it to a friend and I was like, it's just great to see cinema's not dead. You know, like you don't have to go and sit down and just watch. Like,
cinema ain't dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's there. You got to know where to look. But all of these films are wonderful in their own right. They're unique. Not everything's landing with me as like the most perfect thing, but I have seen no two films of like the 20 that I've watched or am watching that are similar. Like none. They all have such a unique thing, and even ones that take inspiration from other places they still have their own spin on it. It's like these small things. That's where it is. It's where you're not limited by a studio making decisions for you. You get to have that creativity. And like we said, it's kind of sad that in a space where you'd love to see that in IP that you adore, that the studio makes the decision that money is all that matters and how we look is all that matters.
Yeah.
Like it should be okay for a show to come out and half fan base to just not like it and the other half to like it, you know? And Ken says in chat, he said before that this was one of Al Pacino's best roles ever. He would argue one of the top 3 performances, but he had seen the film in the $1 bin at a local store not too long ago. And then he also says to look at Prey and Romulus, that both were made with less than 100 million and have done
I was about to say.
And I think that they're both.
I was about to say, just saw Alien Romulus, and you and I watched Prey together when we watched it, and being like, we were just so impressed with
IP,
and I was impressed with those.
Yeah.
And something simple.
Yep.
Something that is
Godzilla
like
-1 as well.
I mean, I was gonna say Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
I honestly would say that I think that you're going to see a trend going forward because especially if a lot of these films continue to ultimately, here's the thing, especially when we're talking about big IPs owned by big companies, they have to see a dollar sign associated with success.
Yeah.
And if they see a ton of small movies getting big numbers, they will make more small movies.
Yeah. You gotta support your local films and your small films.
It's why it's like a lot of people will shit on Marvel, but there is some truth to Marvel had so much success that everybody thought that's the only way to have success.
Yes. And I think the thing is that I think also with the movies, going back to like if The Devil's Advocate was to come out right now, it would just, like you said, just go straight to Netflix, because it's not some grand, I'm gonna say like Marvel type of thing, like where there has to be something huge and big, and it has to be some type of spectacular thing. Like Godzilla -1, yes, it has Godzilla in it, but he's not like the main theme or the main focus of the movie. It's the struggle that the main character is going through.
Yes.
After he, that is his story. Godzilla playing a part in the story of what he's going through.
Yeah, but it's not the main thing.
Exactly. Like Past Lives doesn't have all this action. Past Lives doesn't have all this action. It's just a theme about longing, about loss, about love, and that's and it's not like this it's super heavy dialogue heavy or anything. It's just it's a good movie of two people and their feelings for each other and and stuff like that. It's not some spectacular thing that has to have some crazy ass story, some crazy twist.
Yeah.
And we've lost that because of the Marvel of it all,
Yeah. It's the MCUification of like
exactly.
We've often said on this podcast, it's you can always trust the studios to learn the wrong lesson. That's all.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. Yeah. But like this, as we said, like you won't get stuff like this very often. It will come from time to time, but you got to go and support some of the smaller films that are coming out. So like talk to your people, talk to your friends and ask them what they're watching that's not the big stuff, and go and check it out and support it. Like that's it. We've got to make them talk with our money. That's all we have. And you don't have to go and see the big stuff that looks kind of trash. You can wait till streaming. So that's where we're going to make it happen. But Kari, like, awesome film to bring on. I'm so glad I got to watch it. The other thing I was going to say before when we were talking about like the themes of temptation and all that, I was like, this is 2 hours and 20 minutes. So we were talking about comparing it to 9 hours of Star Wars prequels or like 3-4 hours of Acolyte or kind of wherever we ended up there. It's like it does so much with such little time. It shows it can be done. So like Star Wars, well, absolutely. Make the movie. Get Keanu in there and Pacino.
All I'm saying.
But honestly, awesome film and like a really great one to talk about. There's so much more we can talk about with it too. But in the interest of time,
easily.
We can run over to our cinema a la carte, which I hope we've all prepared for. Because we always love to wrap up with a little game of cinema a la carte. And just as a reminder, this is where we get to show you the best way to experience the film, and this is through the metaphor of food. So we've each prepared a menu of our own for this week's film, with the main course being obviously Devil's Advocate, and then we go with like an entree or an appetizer to start, a wine to pair, and a dessert to kind of complete your journey, you know, leave you nice and fulfilled. So you guys get to decide which set menu you like best. You can let us know in chat or in comments, whatever you kind of vibe with most. But Kay, why don't you show us how it's done? Why don't you show us what third place looks like?
Oh, damn. You can't keep using that.
Not everybody has good taste, so we'll see what this is.
Not everybody does.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to call this one a mistrial.
Ooh, okay.
Is the now I may have cheated at one point in this, but we'll see. I literally couldn't decide between two things, so I since I'm going first, I'm gonna give the option. Go. All right, so for an appetizer, the whole theme of this one is we are trying to find ways to explore the law through very interesting lenses, through very odd ways, and through various genres to be able to have a wonderful, very unique, broad experience. So for an appetizer, we're going to start off with a little bit of Legally Blonde. So start off with that. Start off with just a nice little bit of sweetness, but has a really interesting core message to the movie and very deep, very interesting. Follow it up with Devil's Advocate. And here's where I'm going to introduce something. We're going to give you an option. Do you want a red or a white wine? With basically, you can choose between The People versus O.J. Simpson, the show of Ryan Murphy's show on Netflix, or you could choose between that or Better Call Saul. And
I would have just committed to the bit and said Better Call Saul. I'm disappointed.
I know.
Listen, but The People versus OJ is a great show. If you guys haven't watched it, Ryan Murphy's Sterling K. Brown, just incredible show. Definitely worth a watch. But obviously,
Jr.
Better Call Saul. Yeah, exactly. And then also guy from Ross from Friends, David Schwimmer. Yeah. But the dessert is My Cousin Vinny. Is going to be at the very end of it.
Movie.
Fantastic choice.
Love it. Yes.
So just to run it back down, we got appetizer is Legally Blonde, followed up with Devil's Advocate, and then a wine. You have an option between People versus O.J. Simpson or Better Call Saul, and then for a dessert, you have My Cousin Vinny. All right, which one of you guys is going to lose?
Oh my god!
Come on now.
I'm a little upset that I didn't think of My Cousin Vinny, but I think I have a good one as well. But Kari, why don't you go next, and then I'll take us out.
Listen. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of open your mind type of menu here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I want you guys to just hear me out of the. Yes, we are.
My bad.
All right. So. For the appetizer, I also wanted to bring something that, was also, we're still in the theme of legal, but also having to deal with the evil, having to, right from wrong, nuance. And I'm going to start off, you guys, with the movie Sleepers.
Okay.
Which has Brad Pitt, Robert De Niro, Kevin Bacon.
Good idea.
I have not seen that one. I'm putting it on my list.
Oh my God, Neff!
When you coming back, baby?
You have to watch this movie. Listen, get me back on. We got to talk about Sleepers. No, Sleepers. No, I don't know. Have you seen it, Kay? Have you seen Sleepers?
Not all the way through. But I'd be very interested to watch it with you. So I'm totally down.
Yeah, no, very, very good movie. Again, having to deal with does the ends justify the means, type of movie. Also very heavy, trigger warning, abuse, sexual abuse, kid abuse, and all that stuff. So it's very, very heavy on the theme. But again, gets you to question yourself, like, would I do the same thing? Was it the right thing, even though I know it might be wrong, type of thing. So and then of course we have the main course with Devil's Advocate. So for the whining, I wanted to pair it, so that you could actually it's a book, it's a short story.
Okay.
First short story.
Yes, it's a short story. It's something that when I lived in Colombia, we had to read this in 5th grade, which is crazy. I mean, not crazy, but I guess I understand why. You'll see. You'll understand why. Okay, so it's called The Bottle Imp. It's a short story by it's a Scottish writer, and in Spanish it's called El Diablo en la Botella, the devil in the bottle.
That sounds so much.
So basically, it is, right?
That's such a great name.
Basically, El Diablo en la Botella. So basically the premise is it's literally a little devil inside a bottle. It's basically a genie, like, just make believe it's a genie. And this little devil will grant you any wish you want, right? But at the end, it's obviously, if you're stuck with this bottle, your soul is going to hell. But the way that you can save yourself from that is you got to sell the bottle to the next person. But every time you sell it has to be for a lower price than you bought it. So eventually, when it gets to that last person, whoever gets it for like 1 cent, a penny, they're screwed. And not only that, every wish comes with like a double, like, how do you call that? Like, if you make a wish, it's gonna make other things happen. It comes with a price.
Like
every
wish
comes with a price. Every fish comes with a price. And so again, it's the theme of, okay, so now I got my wishes. Am I going to do this I'm going to go and sell it to this other person and condemn their soul because I want to save mine, type of thing. So there's that dilemma. Again, what do I do? What's going to be your choice? So that's my little pairing for that, because it goes on theme with, the path that you choose to go down, and will you choose right from wrong,
Sick.
Yeah.
And I love it's a little short. I learned in 5th grade, we had to read it, and I fell in love with that little book. It was just a really interesting story. And for our dessert, just to like top it off again, I'm going to stay with the evil theme. There's a show called Evil on Paramount. I don't know if you guys heard of it.
Okay.
Okay, the first 3 seasons are on Netflix. It literally, the series finale was yesterday. The last episode is 5 seasons. It's the other 2, the last 2 seasons of Paramount. Yeah. So it's basically the premise is Catholic Church having to deal with, they get these cases of people claiming that they're possessed or that there's something demonic or evil going on. And so the Catholic Church is basically hires 3 assessors, a priest, a psychologist, and a scientist to go, try to figure out each of these cases. But it's not just, metaphorical. It's also literal. Like, you actually see demons, in their form and stuff. And then you have this little nun that basically can see these demons, and she's basically a demon hunter.
Interesting.
She goes. She's hilarious. And then, but also it's just a theme again of how, even every flaw that we have, everything negative that we have in as humans, just basically manifesting as a demon, but it's really just all in your head. You understand? Yeah. Like everything, like for example, if somebody that's depressed and you see them with a little demon on their back sucking out their joy, so it just plays on these themes of how people.
Oh, I think I have seen a clip or 2 from this.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's really, really interesting.
It's
awesome. Really, really good. It's really interesting. No, it is. And then just again, showing you what human beings go through when they have to deal with mental, emotional instability or negativity in their lives. So it's a really, really interesting show. So I wanted to top it off with that little cherry on top.
I love it. It's a great choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I really like that your choices also span different kinds of media too. We've got like movies, we've got shows, we've got books. So like it touches every. I think like such a good second place. Such a good second place.
You're right, Nap, but don't sell your short. Third is a good option. Please, it's okay. Hey, listen, it happens to 1 out of 5 men every time, or something like that.
I'm delusional. It's all good.
It's good for both of you. Delusional. It's okay. That's what we're here for. This is the themes.
Delusional. Never been accused of that before.
One thing I'm curious about, Kari, is I really thought that for dessert you would have put legend. For darkness. That's what I was kind of expecting.
I thought about it. I thought about it, but I was like, we already spoke about it, so I want to get something different. Yeah, because I really was going to put legend. Yeah,
I kind of thought of putting it in there, and then I was like, nah, Kari's probably going to put it. So like, yeah. But, I've got some weird choices. So my Kari, actually, before I do mine, do you want to just from top to bottom give me yours again? So it was like just your appetizer, main, dessert, just so we have
okay. For appetizers, sleepers, movie sleepers, main course, devil's advocate, pair it off with the wine called the bottle imp or el diablo en la botella. And I know el diablo de la botella. And a little dessert of show called Evil.
Yeah. I had no idea they wrote a book about me, but that's cool. All right. You guys ready? So
go for it. Yes.
My tasting menu, it has a title with it. You go in, you ask your chef, you go, hey, can I get free will, right? Can I get free will? And so all of my films deal with that element of the film. We start with Ari Aster's Midsommar, a film that is just so beautiful in its presentation and gives you such a false sense of, or not a false sense because you kind of know from when it opens, but it's this insane juxtaposition between some of the most beautiful things you've ever seen and the most horrific content you've ever seen. And one of the things that it does so well is it dives into this idea that like somebody's making decisions and they're the real decisions that they want to make, influenced from kind of the outside. It's kind of getting in touch with yourself. And by the end of the film, you're in this place of like, oh my God, I can't believe that she did that, or what happened, like what's going on here? You know, it kind of leaves you thinking in that sense. But I love that it deals with like temptation of something that kind of needed or she wanted to happen, like deep down, but that you would just never do, you know? So like it's a great place to start. We then go into our main, Devil's Advocate. And what we're going to do is we're going to pair this with a really small time film. It's starring MTV Movie Award Best Kiss winner Tobey Maguire and 5-time Academy Award winner Kirk Lazarus. It's called Satan's Alley.
Okay, I think I've heard of it.
I think Kay's picking up what I'm putting down.
I know exactly what you're doing.
No. So it's a trailer that was made that played at the start of Pineapple Express. You remember where
Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder.
No, wasn't it Tropic Thunder?
Oh, what did I say?
Pineapple Express.
I mix them up all the time. Tropic Thunder's the one. Yeah, Tropic Thunder's the one. My bad. But
okay.
Yeah, so at the start of Tropic Thunder, there's a bunch of fake trailers, and it's that one. So
yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking I thought it was funny, but no. I'm gonna pair this with a TV show called Good Omens. If you guys have seen that,
okay,
so all right. Yeah,
it's got a little bit of, you know, demons doing demon things.
That's good.
Kind of
That's
like,
good.
Oh my God! And Chase just joined us in chat. Hello there, Chase. But so I think it's a good wine. You know, Good Omens. It's like the lighter version of this, and there's all some stuff going on. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna end on the last film, Dessert. And like I said, it's all about free will, right? It's about an external factor coming in and giving you the means through which to do what you want to do. And you blaming the external factor, but like, no, that was you. And you got to take accountability for your decisions. Hear me out. Spider-Man 3 by Sam Raimi.
That is a solid third place.
Like he's in the
That's
church.
A very third place.
It ties in. You've got a demon in a church. You've got all of these elements that kind of tie in. I think thematically, they all tie together. So for me, my appetizer is Midsommar, followed by the main, which is Devil's Advocate and Good Omens, the TV show, and then dessert is beautiful, wonderful, perfect Spider-Man 3. That's me, baby.
Okay, so when do I get my first place award for my menu?
I guess that will be up to our. I guess that'll be up to our viewers. So whoever votes for whichever menu you like the most, that'll be the best way to do it.
That's it, guys. You can let us know in the comments which one you like most. We're excited to hear, and if you have your own as well, Ken sent one of his through too. So send them through. We want to know what you're thinking. But Kate, do you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Let me pull it up real quick so I have the actual words. And so there we are. Repped as always. Here we are. My name is Kay, and you can find me at Movie Men Opinions anywhere that you want to. Just type it in. You'll be surprised what you can find. But Naf, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Seen by Naf or On Second Thought, wherever you kind of decide right now. Weird transitions are happening, but most of what we do is on our One with the Films page too. So we're always there, so you can find us there too. And thank you again to our guest, Kari, for joining us today. Kari, do you want to let the people know where they can find you and what they can expect to find if they do?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, you guys can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram as EstarGuarsTia. I think it's somewhere on my name. Mm-hmm. And you're going to find very nerdy content mostly. I talk about my number one passion is Star Wars, but I also talk Marvel, DC, anything nerdy and pop culture. You'll see it all there. And of course, a lot of simping and me thirsting over the sexy bad men. So
yeah.
As you got to do. Listen, we all have it. We all understand. And as a final reminder that you can find all the links in our individual pages in the description below. And there's even a Google form where you can fill out if you have a specific creator that you would love to see on the podcast. You can also find One with the Films on Instagram and TikTok and all your favorite podcasting platforms. But for now, as promised, feast your eyes on our next film on the weekly watch list.
Hell yeah, baby. We'll see you next week.
My name's Ellie. The boys asked me to come introduce myself because I'm going to be your next guest on One with the Films. You may also know me over on TikTok, where I go by Spectre8 and post various rants about the geopolitics and religion of the Star Wars universe and really, really distressing con crunch videos. So I guess I have to pick some homework for Naf and Keegan to watch. It's got to be good. They're basically bloodthirsty for good cinema these days. So, all the best films are Shakespeare adaptations, so I should probably go with a classic, like Romeo and Juliet, but it would have to be a really good interpretation. The cinematography would need to be perfect down to the transitions, the acting, something people will talk about for years to come, amazing dialogue, stunning visuals. It's going to be really hard to pick. There's a lot of adaptations of this play. I'm going to think about it. Okay, y'all. I got it. Only the best adaptation of Romeo and Juliet ever made. That's right. We're doing Twilight. Come hang out with us next week where we're going to do New Moon.